Tej Bahadur, BSF Jawan, who is pointing to the abject conditions of rations at the line of control, pointing to a dal which has no flavor, a burnt roti, saying there are even occasions when there isn't enough food, also alleging a kind of corruption. The BSF is hitting back and saying that this man, this soldier, was nearly court-martialed. He suffered from problems of intoxication, insubordination, even saying that at one point he pointed a gun at his seniors. If indeed this was the case, we must all worry, because what was this soldier then doing at a sensitive post like the LOC with a gun in his hand, if what the BSF says is true? But we will tell you on this program how a CAG report that was tabled in 2016, if we have those graphics ready, we can bring them up. A CAG report in 2016 that actually audited the period between 2014 and 15, this was looking at army troops, but this seems to virtually echo what this BSF Jawan spoke about. And it spoke about how there was very low satisfaction among army troops with both the quality and the quantity of rations. It said that 68% of troops, this is army again I'm emphasizing, in their feedback, said that the rations were either satisfactory only or well below that. It talks about rations being supplied in some cases beyond expiry dates. It talks about soldiers not getting the right proportion of fruit and vegetables. So this is a CAG report. This is not a claim made by an insubordinate soldier and so on. Now on to our debate on the program tonight. Is patriotism just pop patriotism? And do we let our soldiers down when it matters most? On the program today, General VP Malik, former Chief of Army Staff, is with us. Sambit Patra of the BJP is with us. We're also joined by Vikram Srivastava, former Director General of the CRPF, Ajay Shukla, formerly with the Army, now a defense commentator, and also Subedar Ranbir Singh, Subedar with the CRPF, who will be sharing his own story as well. General Malik, if I may get your comments, because the point has also been made that when the BSF is on duty at the line of control, then in some ways the ration supply is actually managed by the army, because the army is in command at forward posts and at the LOC. How do we read this video appeal? How should we see it, especially in light of that CAG report that I just shared? And I'm not making this about BJP or Congress. I think neglect of soldiers and neglect on basics is something that all parties are guilty of. But how do you see what's happened?
Yeah, look, there's no doubt that the provision of wholesome and nourishing food is an important factor as far as our welfare and morale of the troops is concerned. Whether they are from the BSF or from the army, doesn't matter. When they are posted on the LOC, one has to be very particular about the kind of food that they get. It's an important welfare and morale measure for everyone. Now, as far as the food supply of these units which are under the operational control of the army is concerned, I'm told that the food is sent to the base of the BSF companies, and thereafter it is the responsibility of the BSF to carry it forward to the post wherever they are deployed. There is some dichotomy of the BSF companies which are placed in the under the operational control of the battalions, which needs to be sorted out. But that's a separate issue. But as far as supply chain is concerned, this is what I have told you. Now, in this particular instance, firstly, I do not know today what are the food, what is the provision today, and why this CAG report has come out and why no action has been taken. Because I have not, personally, I have not heard from soldiers that they are not getting good food. I mean, I must say that candidly. And in this instance also, I would not like to blame the senior officers or the force in particular, because it could be some problem at the lower level. And firstly, I would like to know who are the junior officers and leaders, whether it is a langar or a mess problem, or it is in provision of the food. Now, these are two separate issues. If there is a problem in the provision of the food articles to the company, then we need to investigate it further and find out where things have gone wrong, and if there are any culprits involved in that. But if it is only a langar problem or a mess problem, then the subunit commanders and the unit commander there, they need to be taken to task as to why it has happened.
Okay, sir.
I would not like to involve the discipline part of it yet. I think that comes later.
I was just going to say that there are former BSF sort of commanders or director generals who have actually said that they're very concerned about soldiers uploading videos. They believe it could cause a disciplinary crisis, and we will look at that. We will look at that dimension separately, because right now we've got to first focus on this appeal, because Tej Bahadur, the BSF Jawan, says he did bring his seniors sort of to notice on this many times, and it's only when nobody listened to him that he actually took this step to upload this video, which he says is an assertion of his basic human right. Sambit Patra, you know, we live in times when certainly patriotism, I think, is a very politicized conversation. But then what does all that amount to when a soldier has to do this? And then that particular soldier, even as the Home Minister has ordered an inquiry, today has in fact been virtually sort of dismissed as some sort of character who actually shouldn't be in the BSF, because his seniors are saying that he suffers from being an alcoholic, he's been insubordinate, he's pointed a gun at his seniors. Then why is he at the LOC? I mean, if indeed any of this is true, it's extremely worrying that he's at the LOC. And if not, then why aren't we giving respect to what he's saying?
Nibarka, number one, as to why he is posted in the LOC and as to why he was not removed, despite what the DGBSF is saying, is something which the BSF spokesperson can say. I cannot intrude into the BSF's domain.
Okay.
But coming to the larger issue,
yes,
Barkha, as far as leave aside a Jawan, if a single person in this country who fights for this country in any capacity goes to sleep without food or gets the food which I think any normal human being cannot consume, it's naturally a matter of worry. Naturally, we all are worried today, and that's why we are having a debate. And before we had a debate,
no,
the Home Minister of the country yesterday night
is the government believing this officer? Because the BSF is not believing this officer. The BSF is saying that this officer is somebody who was almost court-martialed. They've transferred him back to the battalion. He's told media organizations he's now being made to do a plumbing job. So we have to first decide, are we giving the respect to this officer of believing him, or are we character assassinating him?
Nibarka, probably you did not, you are not aware of the fact that the Home Minister of the country has already ordered an inquiry.
No, I just said that the Home Minister has, but the BSF is saying this. I said the Home Minister has ordered an inquiry.
You are aware?
Yes, I said it.
Okay, thank you. Since you are aware of the okay, thank you. Since you're aware of the fact that the Home Minister has taken the content of this video extremely seriously, and that is the reason as to why the Home Minister has ordered an inquiry. If the Home Minister and the government would not have respected this Jawan, then the government would not have taken this Jawan seriously. This answers your question.
Okay.
Secondly, as far as what BSF is, just let me complete this 10 seconds. This is a very sensitive debate, Barkha, because look, the Jawan says that it is not the government which is responsible. There are some officers who are corrupt. I believe we have to be extremely sensitive in this debate. We should not create a rift, a divide between the officers and Jawans of Army or BSF. They are sacrosanct institutions in which discipline and the bondage between the Army officers and Army Jawans is extremely important. So I will choose my words very seriously. I would not try to instigate anyone.
Fair enough. We are not here to instigate, but this is something, Vikram Srivastava, it raises new challenges for the security establishment. It is the age of social media. The BSF responded by saying it was a disciplinary breach that he had a mobile phone at all. General Malik says he doesn't want to get to the disciplinary aspect later. I think what he's highlighting is actually more critical. And we have to, as I said, there is a contradiction, because the Home Minister, Sambit says, has taken the video very seriously and ordered an inquiry. But the BSF officers have said that this particular Jawan was actually almost going to be marshaled out of the force. How do we read what he's saying about food supplies?
You see, there is a very robust system of grievance redressal, whether it is ITBP, CRP or BSF.
Yes.
The mess which is run for the constables and for the subordinate officers, the people who are supposed to run that mess efficiently are selected by the men themselves.
Okay.
The mess Havaldar is selected by that by the men of that company. And those who will assist that Havaldar are also selected by the men.
But this is also the quality of the supplies that Tej Bahadur talks about.
I'm sure BSF would be looking into things. Who were the mess havaldars? How were they supervising? Because these are the men who go to the market and get the stuff.
So when you say there's a grievance redressal mechanism, are you suggesting that you're upset that this Jawan took to uploading a video?
Yes, normally it is not on. Normally they don't do things like this. I am sure the BSF will look into the details of this, because normally it doesn't happen. I'm sure this place must be around 8,000 or 9,000 because you see snow in your video. But then there are troops of the ITBP which are at 19,000, 20,000 feet, 18,000 feet, 7 months, 8 months, they are in deep snow. And there are so many other concerns.
So I'm sensing you're not comfortable with this video and the claim that's been made in it. Ajay, I want to bring you in. General Malik says he's never heard this feedback from soldiers in general that there's a problem with the ration supplies. But I did quote from a CAG report that seems to suggest that army troops that were audited were not particularly happy, and nor was the CAG that audited the systems. But there is two aspects to this. There is the form of protest that this soldier has chosen to do, which some officers have said could cause a disciplinary crisis. That, you know, if there are 200,000 officers in the BSF, if even 200 of them tomorrow uploaded these videos, what does it mean? And somewhere to that extent it's right, it's sensitive. But more sensitive than that is, are we really looking at a situation where there's a problem in the ration supplies and there is petty level corruption, which is what's really been alleged here?
You see, that's the crux of this particular case is, was this a local command failure?
Yeah.
Or is this a problem across the force? We need to be clear on that, and I'm sure that the investigation that is carried out will sort of achieve some clarity on this. Coming to the issue of denigrating this soldier for having uploaded this video, let's assume he has broken a rule in uploading a video, in keeping a mobile phone with him, and so on and so forth. The fact remains that a Jawan of the Indian security forces, and these are some of the most hardy and long-suffering and patient people you will ever find, they don't complain easily. When a Jawan complains, or when he turns his gun against one of his officers or so on, you can bet your life that there was a serious problem over there that caused him to do it. So regardless of the rules that have been broken, the fact that a Jawan has uploaded a video and complained in this manner is something that needs to be
So you're saying when the BSF says that he's indulged in indisciplinary actions, he's misbehaved, he turned a gun on his seniors, I'm just quoting from the BSF press conference.
I think it's very unwise, and they need to start addressing the root of the problem first, the cause of the problem, and then turn their attention to which rules this man has broken. The fact of the matter is that he has highlighted a serious problem. We saw the state of the dal in that video.
There's the dal,
It was really like thin soup. And we saw the burnt roti over there. So he's not just making up a problem. There was a problem. And the BSF needs to start thinking about not covering up the problem, but addressing it.
Okay, Subedar Ranveer, आप बताइए कि आप CRPF के साथ रह चुके हैं. आपकी कहाँ पोस्टिंग हुई, और आपको क्या लगता है कि जेन्युइनली कभी-कभी ये प्रॉब्लम होता है कि सप्लाईज रहते हैं राशंस के, लेकिन लोकल अफसर, जैसे इन्होंने तेज बहादुर ने एक आरोप लगाया है कि लोकल लेवल पर कुछ गड़बड़ होती है, सप्लाईज को साइफन ऑफ किया जाता है. आपका क्या एक्सपीरियंस रहा है?
जी मैम, मैं लद्दाख से लेके और लास्ट कॉर्नर इंडिया का निकोबार तक मैं रहा हूँ जी. मैंने देश को 38 साल बहुत महत्वपूर्ण अपने देश के लिए दिए हैं जी. जहाँ तक डीजी साहब ने बोला कि भाई जो है ना वहाँ पे चुनाव होता है और वो लोकल परचेज वगैरह करने के लिए जाते हैं, माननीय मैं आपके लिए नॉलेज के लिए कहना चाहूँगा कि जहाँ तक श्रीनगर वगैरह जो खासकर जो बहुत ही उग्रवादी टाइप का इलाका है, उसमें सीओ साहब की इंस्ट्रक्शंस होती हैं, जाइए भाई गुप्ता जी के यहाँ से खरीद लाइए, या जाइए अग्रवाल जी की दुकान से खरीद लाइए. अगर इस टाइप पे मौसम की बर्फबारी हो रही है और महीने का राशन आता है, तो वो गाड़ी सीओ साहब जो बटालियन जो कमांडेंट हैं वो खुद ही कह देते हैं कि भाई जाइए आपका राशन कंपनियों में अपने आप आ जाएगा. तो यहाँ पे ये बात झूठी साबित हो रही है कि जो परचेजिंग कमेटीज़ वगैरह जो हमारे सिपाही या मैस हवलदार जो चुने जाते हैं वो तो एक तरफ ही रह जाते हैं. ये हाल मोस्टली हमारे जो मैं कहना चाहूँगा केंद्रीय अर्धसैनिक बलों में ये बहुत ज़्यादा है। और
पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, क्योंकि हम लोग मोस्टली हमको राशन मनी मिलती है, हम अपना पैसा अपनी जेब से खरीद के और खुद खाते हैं, उसी पे गवर्नमेंट इनकम टैक्स भी काट लेती है, वो मुद्दा अलग है। जो जवान ने आज ये बात दोहराई, जब माननीय जनरल साहब ने भी कहा कि जब सर से गुजर गई है, जब ये चीज़ें नॉलेज में आई है, आज उसका इतिहास पलट के देख रहे हैं कि जवान ने कहाँ सच बोला, कहाँ गलती की, कहाँ ऑफिसर के खिलाफ उसने कब क्या किया। अब उसका पूरा सीट रोल बजाय इंक्वायरी करने की कि जहाँ पे ये गलत है तो ये गलत है। और मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि सेना की तरफ से इसमें कोई वो नहीं, उनका बराबर राशन सप्लाई होता। जो बीच में जब सेना सप्लाई करे और जब हमारे बीएसएफ के जवानों तक वो पहुँचे, तो सर इसमें कुछ ज़रूर खामियां हैं और ये लोग उस राशन को राइट लेफ्ट करते हैं। ये हमने लद्दाख में भी बहुत देखा। मैं
तो आप कह रहे हैं कि आर्मी की तरफ से राशन सप्लाई आती है और बीच में किसी लोकल लेवल पर आपने देखा है कि गड़बड़ होके वो साइफन ऑफ हो जाती है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, इसमें कोई संदेह नहीं
okay,
है।
I think General Malik's wanting to come in there and we'll get reactions to this because I think it's quite a heartfelt personal experience. General Malik, go ahead.
Yeah, Barkha, firstly, I think we must disconnect his past behavior,
yes,
this Jawan's past behavior, with the present major problem that we are now facing.
Yes.
And I think this food supply and the kind of food that these boys are eating, that is far more important today than looking back at his behavior. So
yes,
let's not connect that today. That should be done after the investigation is done. And if the investigation proves that there is nothing wrong except this chap is not telling the truth, then only we should bring that in. At the moment, I think our focus should be what kind of food supply and what kind of food is being given to the Jawans at the post.
I think that's a fair point, and that's what Subedar Ranbir was also trying to say. And Sambit, is there a contradiction then in the official response? Because the Home Minister orders a probe, he says he's disturbed by the video, but the BSF officials say, virtually call this man a liar or someone who can't be trusted, the Jawan. And you just heard another Subedar talk about his own experience.
See, Barkha, as I told you, it's extremely sensitive. Though I concur with what General VP Malik say, because this is a very important issue. If our Jawans do not get right food in the right mix in the borders, how will they fight for the country? And this is a fundamental right. There's no question on it. But I commenting on the top brasses of BSF would not be appropriate. I do not have critical mass enough to talk about institutes like BSF, CRPF and the army. They are sacrosanct institutions, and there are certain things called as discipline. Political spokespersons should not encroach into the discipline of such huge bodies as army, navy, air force and BSF. I dare not do that.
Vikram Srivastava, you actually said you were uncomfortable with this video, you were uncomfortable with the form of expression, but you heard what somebody who served in the CRPF, Subedar Ranbir, says, and he says this is the problem peculiar to paramilitary forces. And there is also a perception that paramilitary forces and the Jawans there do remain unsung in a way that maybe soldiers of other, of the military, other wings of the military don't. How do you respond to what you've heard Ranbir ji say?
See, that is his experience. Whatever he has seen, he has brought it out. The system has laid down. Now it is for the local officers of a unit or company to ensure that the system is followed. There is nothing wrong in the system. Even where the army is supplying rations and supplying high altitude food, everything is there laid out. There is nothing wrong with it. Now you have to ensure that it is properly made and served.
So you're saying the system or the quality is not the problem is localized.
You see, you have to ensure that it is done, you have people to do it.
Subedar साहब, problem क्या जो quality है उसमें है कि जो आप तक पहुंचता है उसमें है?
जी, क्वालिटी में भी है, क्योंकि जैसे आजकल टेम्परेचर जो है -50 चल रहा है ऊपर हाई एल्टीट्यूड में, तो जो है कई बार होता है कि राशन जो जैसे आटा ही आए तो उसकी जो क्वालिटी में फ़र्क पड़ जाता है। कई बार हमने देखा है कि उसमें जो है ना कीड़े वगैरह भी हो जाते हैं, और ये चीज़ है।
Ajay, I come back to the fact that there has been concern sounded. Vikram Srivastava has alluded to it. General Malik has only hinted at it. A fear that if soldiers do start taking to social media and saying this is what's wrong, So, you know, I'm taking a very extreme example, but General Malik, who was at the helm when Kargil happened, and soldiers fought without snow boots and night vision devices. And just imagine if at that time somebody had uploaded a video saying, and all true, that we don't have this. We don't have this. Now, there are undercurrents of discomfort I'm sensing in Mr. Srivastava, for example, that was this the best way to protest?
I think there will always be discomfort in an organization that has something to hide, in people that have something to hide, and people who run a clear ship don't worry about people.
You're saying it doesn't matter if tomorrow 5 soldiers do the same?
I think it needs to be encouraged.
Why?
I think the
Why?
more transparency
I mean,
we have,
the military runs on discipline.
the
Discipline
military
is
does
sacrosanct.
not run on feudal exploitation. Every good unit has a clear system of running their messes in a manner that their Jawans get good food, and if a Jawan does not get good food, it is a command failure. Some officer at some level up the chain is responsible for that food that he is supposed to be getting. And if he has not got that food, we have 2 systems, 2 options that we can do. Either we keep the whole issue under wraps, covering it up with this, you know, excuse of discipline, or we have a system whereby grievances can be redressed and brought forward and so on. But if the channel through which the grievance is to be brought forward is the same channel that is failing in leadership, then obviously that.
So you're not
grievance is
uncomfortable
never
with a direct form of expression?
I am all for a direct
You're
form of
encouraging it.
expression. Listen, in every good unit, and I'm talking about the army here, they take special pride in the quality of their food, because these Jawans function in environments where you don't really have very much going for you. Food is practically the only thing that you have to look forward to during the day. Food and a sort of disturbed sleep at night, hopefully with a warm bed. And if you're not getting that, I mean, life becomes pretty unbearable.
I mean, I have to say my experience is that even if a Jawan has one roti, he will make sure that if you meet him, he'll give you that roti.
You
and
see,
is the most generous-hearted
Barkha,
entity in this country is the Indian Jawan.
The fear you're raising is that Jawans will start raising frivolous complaints through social media.
Yes.
Jawans are very responsible. They are extremely dutiful. They do not raise frivolous complaints, except for one odd, very sort of rare case.
So I want reactions to what you said, because you've actually taken the position that it's okay. Encourage this, because the Jawan is mindful and responsible enough to not generally raise anything that isn't true. Sambit, you were disagreeing with that. Go ahead.
No, I was not disagreeing. I was just listening to him. I mean, see, this is a social media age.
Yes.
So definitely there would be certain things which would come up in social media, and that is the beauty of democracy, where we discuss issues. We may agree or we may not agree. But I believe, I have little knowledge about the army and the BSF way of functioning, but I believe that the army and the BSF has a disciplined, a strong redressal addressing mechanism. And I think if anyone, be it a Jawan or be it an officer, if they have a complaint, the complaint can be made through this redressal mechanism. The gentlemen, generals and others who are present in this panel can correct me if I am wrong, but I feel there is a redressal mechanism which the army provides for. And secondly, since the question has also come to the government, a few quick points which I really need to bring it over here. The 7th Pay Commission has been brought in, and this government in the 7th Pay Commission wants a revision of ration money allowance, because the Subedar Sahab was rightly pointing out that there is a ration money allowance. Because I heard Yadav ji, the Jawan, in fact today saying that there is problems with chutti also. Chutti ki bhi dikkat hoti hai. So the leave the government wants should be increased. The casual leave should be increased from 15 days to 30 days. That is the suggestion of this government. This government also wants, this is a good news, and all those from BSF who would be listening to this government also wants that the BSF Jawan should be paid at par with the army, because they are equally putting themselves in danger as the army. And this recommendation has been brought forth to the 7th Pay Commission. So I think the government is extremely sensitive to all these issues and taking up this matter as
well. The 7th Pay Commission, Sambit, is actually a whole different debate, where there is actually major discontent in the military vis-a-vis the bureaucracy, and therefore that maybe needs a fuller discussion. Quick last comment, Vikram Srivastava. Ajay Shukla says encourage this. Encourage what the BSF Jawan has done.
No, I don't agree with that. It is the force which will put in remedial measures. It is the subordinate officers of the company and the unit which have to put the things back in order. There is a system, everything is laid out, there are cooks, everybody is there. It's how you cook.
What is your discomfort with this particular form of expression?
You see, it's not on. You go on national TV, and even those troops who are serving in much harsher areas, what are you trying to incite?
Ajay, quick
I will
response.
just leave by one last 10-second comment that all these so-called redressal mechanisms notwithstanding, the only time this matter has actually come forth is when he has gone on social media on national TV.
सुबेदार साहब, ये जो बोला जा रहा है कि ये ऐसे फेसबुक पे वीडियो नहीं डालना चाहिए था, कि जो अंदरूनी सिस्टम है उसको इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए।
ये तो सर से गुजर गई तो तब डाला गया। मैं सुमित पात्रा की बात का जवाब दूंगा, जो उन्होंने कहा कि जो है ना एट पार आर्मी बीएसएफ सीआईएसएफ के जवानों की मात्र 30 दिन की छुट्टी है। माननीय गृह राज्य मंत्री जी ने राज्यसभा में बयान दिया कि हम जो है केंद्रीय अर्धसैनिक बलों को पैरामिलिट्री स्पेशल पे देंगे। ऐसा कुछ हमारे लिए गवर्नमेंट ने नहीं किया। हमने देश की संसद को बचाया। आपने हमारी वन रैंक वन पेंशन का तो सवाल ही नहीं। हमारे जवानों की 2000 के बाद 4 के बाद तो मैम पेंशन ही नहीं है। तो हम आज बिल्कुल ठगे से हैं। अर्धसैनिक यानी कि कहने का मतलब है मैम, जब प्रधानमंत्री जी योजना आयोग को नीति आयोग में तब्दील कर सकते हैं, जब प्रधानमंत्री जी 7 RCR को लोक कल्याण में कर सकते हैं, विकलांग को दिव्यांग में कर सकते हैं, तो वाई नॉट जो है ये अर्धसैनिक बल को पूर्ण सैनिक बल का दर्जा क्यों ना दिया जाए, ताकि जवान का मोराल अप हो। और उस कमांडेंट और डिप्टी कमांडेंट 3-3, 4-4 बटालियन में होते हैं। उनका काम है कि मैस जवान के मैस को जो है अच्छे से चलाया जाए, अच्छे से खाना खिलाया जाए, ताकि सरहद पे वो जवान
जरूर नहीं। पर ये एक बात बताइए कि जो सर ने बोला कि भाई अगर ऐसे सब लोग वीडियो डालना चले, सब लोग वीडियो अपलोड करना शुरू करें तो एक तरह से केओस हो जाएगा, डिसिप्लिन टूट जाएगा। कुछ आप इस पे कहना चाहेंगे?
नहीं, ये डिजिटलाइज का युग है। हम तो अब ये कह रहे हैं कि प्रधानमंत्री बोल रहे हैं कि जवान मोबाइल क्यों साथ लेके गया। आज प्रधानमंत्री जी खुद कह रहे थे डिजिटलाइज युग हो गया है भाई, कैशलेस भारत हो गया, तो मोबाइल के बगैर तो कैसे चलेगा साहब। ये उसने अपना जो है अकेले जवान की बात नहीं, उन्हें बहुत
double-edged sword, Samvit. Digital India does come with now everybody wanting a mobile.
बहुत जरूरी है।
But very दिल से बोले आप, धन्यवाद। General Malik, last words, so I have to wrap.
Yeah, firstly, I must admire the JCO's articulation, the way he said it.
Yes.
And, you know, it is very, very important, in fact, much more important today to have a very strong redressal system. Yes. Grievances being given and they being readdressed in the unit. That needs very strong system today, and we should all be very careful, particularly all the unit commanders. Having said that, you know, we also have this whistleblower system everywhere existing today. And I think if we start running down the whistleblower system, then nobody will speak. And that will not go, that will be against the service morale and welfare. So we should keep that in mind. I don't think we should be vindictive as far as this Jawan is concerned.
Yes.
And come to conclusion as far as the discipline or indisciplined part is concerned only after all the investigations have been done, without being vindictive.
Absolutely. I think we could all agree on that. General Malik, Mr. Srivastav, Ajay, Sambit, and सबसे ज़्यादा आपको सुबेदार साहब।
बहुत जरूरी है मैम। हम लास्ट में ये कहना चाहेंगे, हम देश की 15,000 किलोमीटर सीमा रेखाओं की सुरक्षा करते हैं, लेकिन इस बार गणतंत्र दिवस परेड पर समित पात्रा जी नोट करें इस चीज को कि हमारे अर्धसैनिक बलों को बीएसएफ, एसएसबी और आईटीबीपी के जवानों को राजपथ से गुजरने की अनुमति नहीं दी गई, जबकि हम पिछले 3 महीने से जो है ना रोज प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं। ये दुख भरी बात है। सरहद के चौकीदारों को यहाँ पे राजपथ, ये समित पात्रा जी से पूछिए, इनकी गवर्नमेंट से पूछिए। साहब, आप कैमल कंटिजेंट को तो जो है ना राजपथ से दौड़ा रहे, और हमारा जो पैदल पथ है जवानों का बीएसएफ का बांकुरे, अगर सही नीति ना होता तो एक और
amongst the different wings of the armed forces, and I'm not aware of this.
Okay, maybe Sambit, you can look into it, because even I'm not aware. This is the first time even I'm hearing of this. We leave it there. Subedar Sahab, धन्यवाद।